Welcome to Marin Poets Live. I'm Neshama Franklin. I work at the Fairfax Library and I love poetry. After this program airs on Marin TV, it will appear on the Marin County Free Library website as part of a digital archive which also features biographies of the poets and links to our collection. For this month, we will feature Ella Eytan. Welcome, Ella.
Thank you, Neshama. I'm happy to be here.
Good. Now, as you know, we start with a Marin poem, and
Yes.
I can't wait.
Yes, I have one. I'm going to start with a mountaintop ecstatic poem. Short, sounding the bells. These hills are all thrust and breast opulent with poppy gold and broom. Winds sound the bells of lantern grass, tweak a spider's web to make a wrapped wasp wiggle. I tumble all lupin and morning glory on a rampant hillside romp. I'm interspecies, extraordinary, unloosed, unlaced, blessed by sun and breeze, with a fleeting hillside grace.
Wow, that is so juicy, so fast.
Yes.
It dances
Thank
utterly.
you. Thank you, thank you.
Another one, please.
Okay, here we go. This is very different. I just think walking in nature can really lead you to all kinds of surprising observations and ideas. Anyway, this is called Late Daylight. It's from a walk I took quite late in the afternoon, almost at sunset. Late daylight. Despite clarity of air and pebble clouds, the lagoon is brown and shiny as foil. Sedge and grass stubble at the water's edge are umber in subtle shades that define each blade. Bricklebush and anise wear over their dark bellies a thin outline of light. And I've been equally dark, but when I turn, I see I've been facing the shady side of each leaf and ripple. With sun to my back, foliage and stalk light up green, russet water goes aquamarine. Now my shadow is in the picture with a shade of every other thing. How have I lived so long without noticing? I round a bend and the tide-widened creek runs fast. Seabirds have left the shore for this marsh. A flock of plovers wheel and bank, flashing white then gray, and settle like foam over scattered puddles, everything so deep and classical. Tragedy, comedy, masks I wear, depending on the direction I face.
That is great, because that moment of, I'm doing it to myself.
Yes.
I have to turn another way.
Yes.
That's beautiful. And
It's quite a
and there's so
realization.
much wordplay in there.
I love playing with words.
I can hear it.
I love to almost taste the sound
They are
of words.
very tasty indeed.
And the next poem is from my book, After a Certain Age. A woman becomes invisible after a certain age. I noticed when my daughter turned 17 and she was gloriously beautiful. And so I did notice that things were different. All the eyes went to her. After a certain age, a woman becomes invisible. Her foundation will begin to shift. Roof tiles curl, rain seep in. At first, she won't observe herself, the crisp curve of edges eroding, white sheets no longer hanging on her line like an invitation. All too soon, she will notice the restless eyes that pass through her without stopping. She will mourn her loss, putty and caulk, paint and plaster, but the decay will go faster than the repair. One day, while working, she may lean back to admire the job, and if lucky, see, as if for the first time, her elegant structure. She will be able then to let go the old ladders. They will no longer matter. She will peel back her roof and become a garden, open up to hold the rain.
That is an anthem for age that we all need.
Yes, yes.
And isn't it exciting to be invisible? I discover.
Well, actually, it has its advantages.
It
Very
does.
definitely.
Yes, because it turns you can be an observer fully because they don't know.
That's right, that's right.
Another one, please.
Well, this is a slightly naughty one, but no swear words.
Good.
It's called Loving Chanticleer. Chanticleer is a male chorus that comes around a lot during the Christmas season, and I used to love to go to their concerts. So this concert was a series of such naughty madrigals by Banchieri. So it's called Loving Chanticleer. Banchieri's ribald madrigals roll off male tongues, lover strokes, whispers at the ear. The countertenor soars above the chorus, almost soprano. They bow, expose a few bare crowns, beautiful among all that hair. They're all beautiful. I want them. What is it about human that feels pleasure, thinks sex? They resume singing, the bass, brunette, white skin. I'll take him first. His notes thrum the lower chakras. I slip from my skin, it's too thin anyway. He's delicious. His deep voice slides in and out. I want to shout, but voice is back with body. The tenor's next, a text I want to read. His notes that float, I ride them up and over, but want more and others. Tremolo, another tremolo, some pizzicato with a lot, oh. Finally, contrapunto with countertenor, vibrato, one can't taste honey if his heart is not loving, and I'm loving, and loving, and these madrigals.
I have never thought of such a wonderful conceit. You got them. They go right to your heart, and then you possess them.
Yeah. Well, I wrote that mostly while I was listening to the concert. I just said, "Oh, what a great idea!"
Oh. Are you going to give it to Chanticleer?
I meant to, but I never did.
Maybe this will be the trigger, because I think it would please them inordinately,
Maybe.
as it pleased me.
Maybe.
Yes. Another pleased.
All right. Well, I do love sounds, as I said. So the next one is a Marin poem. It's, as you'll hear, Driving to Bolinas. Deep dive blues. Driving down the mountain, droop-limbed pines were lifting veils of morning damp. Just above Stinson, I dove into fog, dove into it like water, like a deep dive into those familiar sinking down blues, but I pressed on to Bolinas Lagoon. There, sun was quilting water. Fog shimmied up round thighs of hills, boozy and moist like whispers in the morning. Egrets seemed like 100, stood stick-legged still hunting, their white ice melting blues like a trombone's smooth slide.
Boy, I mean, I go by that lagoon all the time, and
It's
I will
such
see
a wonderful
it
lagoon.
very differently now. There's so much music in your poems. Do you make music too, or are you just a lover thereof?
I used to sing a great deal. Maybe that's why.
Yes. Well, it's great.
When I was a girl, I sang in choruses of all sorts.
Something happens to our voices when we get older, but poetry never dies.
That's right. Okay. This poem, I used to go, I grew up on a farm in outside of Duluth, Minnesota. And my uncles would take me fishing sometimes early in the morning. And so I thought of one of the occasions, and this poem is from that. Fish. Beneath the tossed line, slack until the hook caught, the trout leapt up again and again, shattering that sheet of glass. Oh, he was silver minting the new morning, a splinter of light flung from water to sky. I thought he would fly. He was that filled with life on his way to die.
Then that's a very old memory that was obviously embedded, imprinted.
Very much so.
Right. And of course, there's Elizabeth Bishop's Fish, which never leaves us alone. But there's a whole string of fish, poetic fish, that I love.
Yes. Okay. Now I'm going to my first book, Haying the Far Fields, which is really a memoir from my childhood in Minnesota. And this poem I'm going to read, The Year the Bears Invaded Duluth, is all true except for one image in the poem, the man reading the paper, which I just made up, and I figured he would have been there. But anyway, the year the Bears invaded Duluth. They must have descended from the night sky, Ursa Major emptied, whipped in on the winds of space, or maybe across the frozen straits from the steppes, lean and hungry, the winter having been too long. They swarmed the dumps, pawing through fetid leavings, raided root cellars, lumbered like scraggly drunks through all the best neighborhoods. When I rode with Grandpa to town, we'd see at least 3 bears treed, the crowds below circling like dogs, ready to close in for the kill, keeping them there to wait for the bear truck. Sometimes 4 or 5 would wade slow, as if grass were water, into our orchard, would rear up to take the green apples, sour juice dripping, narrow eyes squeezed a little in pleasure. Oh, it was good, you could tell, and they kept returning despite Uncle Odd, who ran like an avenger up the hill, his rifle firing wildly. One sleepy morning, a bear walked bold as berries through the revolving door of the Hotel Duluth. Imagine his consternation, people like a flock of startled birds, except the one man reading the paper who heard nothing. By the time a small one wandered into our blacksmith shop, I'd gotten used to them. Uncle Gunnar shut the door and called the game warden. I pressed my nose to the window to see the bear. He pressed his next to mine. 2 pointy noses, 4 curious eyes. If angry Uncle hadn't swept me up, would he have broken that pane? Reached for me? I never thought so. He seemed as curious as I, so out of his element he thought perhaps he was dreaming of a ghost girl falling into the well of his eyes, or the surprise smell of iron and rust, old harness, the acrid bite of coal dust that puffed like powder with each shuffling step. By winter they were gone. The apples they had left uneaten were mounded and cidery in our root cellar. The bears of the north sky remained, bright and mythic, predictable as the snow that swept the roofs of the houses below.
Wow. So Scandinavian roots, I gather,
yes,
from Gunnar and Odd. When did poetry enter your life?
In high school.
I
used to write maudlin
yes.
Teenage poetry.
Yes.
And I always wrote a couple of poems a year until I came to Marin, and I took a class with Jackie Kudler, who said, you should be writing poetry.
You definitely should be writing poetry. So there you were launched.
There I was launched.
Okay.
And I've been doing it ever since.
Yes.
The next poem also from that book is Blacksmithing. And this poem came when I read a Miloš poem about blacksmithing, and I thought, you know what? He hasn't quite gotten it. Because my grandfather had a blacksmith shop, and I would help him in the blacksmith shop, and there was so much more he could have said, I felt. So this is why I wrote the poem. Maybe presumptuous of me, but anyway. No. Blacksmithing. Fire throbbed in the big fireplace to the whoosh of foot-pedal bellows, dirt floor, sooty windows, gritty coal dust air. Iron rods waited red hot, iron to anvil, arc of hammer. The room exploded, became sound, then the hiss and shift of heat to waiting water. Again and again the room narrowed to noise, to black, to scarlet of fire and iron, sparks flying. Grandpa's muscles looking chipped and glinting like steel. It was a patient crafting, the slow working to round of a horseshoe, horses outside waiting for the fit. Each tool the farm needed done with perfect blows. Sometimes he would give me a bar to heat and hammer to an easy wedge, would show me how so I could see with my hands the language of muscle, the measure of the craft, how it stretched back through thousands of years and maybe that much forward. We thought so then. Couldn't see how we were at the end of a thing, how everything would bend right around and go off a different way.
Oh, that's so, it starts very percussive, just like being in the place, and it ends so elegiac. It's a wonderful journey.
Yes, well, things sure changed.
Yes. Boy, you have quite a rich recall. That childhood is packed in there.
People sometimes say, how did you remember all that? Well, it's like pulling at threads. You remember one thing, and then all kinds of other things tangential to that start coming out, and then you pull another one, and so if you keep at it, you begin to recapture large portions of your life.
It's wonderful.
Okay. This next one happened in Sausalito. It's called Seal. There was the usual sea smell of fish and oil slicks that night. You've seen how waves lift up their round, black arms and give the wan moon back its cool light. They want to spill over, cross boundaries, press against rocks, handing them the slippery moon, taking it back. You know how that looks. I walked on a path beside the sea. An awk, awk, awk echoed toward me like a quick breeze over the water, like the smell of the sea turned sound. Suddenly, there he was, 4 feet offshore in his shiny furs. I answered him, awkward at first, then getting it right. We talked a long time. Maybe he thought I was one of them in my seal black clothes. He paced aquatically, eyes holding me. I sang his siren song, and for a while I could feel down into all that was wet and salty in me. He followed as I passed Bufano's seal statue, turned when I turned, and kept up his end of the conversation. At the park, I squatted on a step near the water. He swam up close, and we were quiet. What could we do? Touch, rub noses or flanks? We were reaching past difference. We were making love. We each awked a last 2 times, then he dipped under that thick black syrup, popped up 100 feet offshore for a last look, and was gone, leaving me a bit of his mystery, a taste of salt on my tongue when I wake.
What a lucky woman you are. That's a contemporary Selkie song.
That's right.
Definitely.
It was really an amazing event.
And I love the little bit, you know how it is. You know that little invitation to the reader to get close.
Yeah, I try.
Well, you do.
The next one is Why I Love Men. Because my eyes like to slide down the obvious geometry of muscle and along that narrowing angle, chest to hip. And because they lean close when earnestly making a point, as if by diminishing distance we will see their way, because they so want us to see their way. And they come to our rescue, fix tires, haul us from burning buildings, and they want to believe in our virtue so that we want that too. I love the slope of their neck as they bend to a book, the way they talk, even the way they convince themselves as they talk that they are right. I love hard, athletic men who run and bike and play tennis or basketball or baseball. I love soft men who read late, who use their muscles on ideas. I love young men filled with juice and lust, unsure or foolishly cocky. They will be battered. I want to spare them that. I love older men because they are wiser and know what is important or are capable of finding out. And because their pupils open like the dark heart of a flower when they make love, everything going to fuse afterwards. I love men not for how they treat us, a sorry history, but for how, under the weight of centuries, they try so hard.
Oh, that is an amazing tribute, and it's so non-PC. I love it because we don't try to divide things up these days. It's, you know, you're not supposed to be gender, you know, but it's so real, it's so live, and you've encapsulated it beautifully.
Thank you. Yeah,
Okay,
that was really a fun one to write.
Well, you have a lot of fun with your poetry, which shines through.
Yes, I do. I just love doing it. It's the process.
Yes.
I think we go here.
Okay.
Origin. When I entered the world and ran my palm along the sky, rain, and 10,000 tears drained into the rivers before I noticed how water gurgled along, sounds so beautiful. What could I do but eat them? And when I opened my mouth and they tumbled out, they made in their abundance words for what had passed as a dream before me. And the dream became real. I put my hands on it, took my few tools, and set off into the world.
Yes, think big.
Yes, I tried to imagine how it would have been back before language.
Exactly. And that's some trick with poetry, back before language. Just so you know, about 7 minutes.
About 7 minutes, yes. Okay. The next one, called Walking Away. You walk away from your comfortable life. In the distant breeze, trees sway. You think, how beautiful, but you're only thinking. Walk closer and you begin to see how they fondle and hold the light, how everything increases as you walk under until the patterns tear you to pieces. You're open then, pried apart. Your whole body becomes art by which you see. I'm trying to describe the transformational process.
Yes, you certainly do. And I go through that many times a day when I congratulate myself on feeling so good and then just knowing this too shall pass, this too shall pass. Very good.
This poem, well, I meditated a lot during a period of my life, and I had a Kundalini experience. It was quite wild. And at the end of it, I said, I've got a poem. I didn't know what it was, and I ran into the house, and it was my total muse-given poem. It just came. Ancient of Days. Now I walk through my life as the ancient ones walked. I hear the thousand voices. My bones float like kelp in tide. I let them take me where they will, become fish, turtle, the searching snail. I don't rail against the world's dark thunderings. I join with my tears and drift toward the light. I've been the moon's song and wandered one with the wind. Everything that is here I've been, then forgot. There is no narrow choice. Each note I sing becomes my voice.
You were blasted open, and everything came, and that's glorious.
Yes. It was a given poem.
Yes, and it's wonderful that you are so open to it. And then you can give it back to us.
Well,
I mean, what else can we ask for? So, some more poems.
41, I think, was what I wanted. I wanted short poems. Blackberry, Blackberry. My husband calls these my brindled cow poems. They're also totally given. I don't know where they came from, and this is how it came out. Mm-hmm. Blackberry, Blackberry. When last I saw his very dear face, blackberry and bramble, delicious scramble, back bent to pick, fingers thick with juicy pip and purple, well licked and liked, we lingered in hunger, and oh, we were younger.
Whoa. That's fascinating and kind of mysterious. It's one of the ones that's a little opaque, but it dances on the tongue so well. I don't care that I don't know exactly what you're saying.
Well, I don't know exactly what it means either.
Okay, good. It's the mysteries. Let's keep going.
All right. Last night's rain. Morning sun lifts mist in lazy puffs and blinks from countless crystal cuts of rain in ferny acacia. Under each bare limb of another tree, last night's rain lines up in equidistant drops. One by one they loosen, fall to lower limbs, and rearrange in the same pattern. Stripped bare, would I see this clear? My life shivering against the air. And it was quite amazing. I was watching it for a long time, and it always lined up perfectly the next limb down.
That's a piece of magic. More short ones.
Okay, let's see. 37. Okay. Happiness. This is a riff on happiness. A buff brown dog walks with his master. It's a sunny day. All four legs move, though one is just a stump. It wags along as if it remembers better times. He doesn't rail against this, just moves a little slower, his whole body one big wag.
That's a kind of Buddhist poem, I believe. It's and I noticed the railing, he doesn't rail, that comes through these poems a lot. So I'm sure it's the process of it's happening, don't rail, because why?
That's right.
Yes. Now, a delicious and last short one.
Okay, well.
If you can pull that out.
Well, that's not delicious. Let's see.
Well, no, it doesn't. Whatever comes.
Old plum tree.
Okay.
Her bark, split and seamed by many seasons, is mottled with moss and lichen. My chimney's smoke strokes her with shadow before lifting to the night. Alone, leafless, under a full moon, she gathers the cold in her twisted branches, polishes it to a high silver. She has never been more beautiful.
And I bet you feel like that a lot.
Sometimes.
I mean, you know, as
If I don't look in the mirror too much.
No, yeah, I mean, I have to say, you are beautiful. I can say that.
You are too.
But, you know, we have a minute, or two. I'm not going to cram any more poetry in it. I just want to tell you what a joyous experience it was.
Well,
it has been.
It's been a pleasure to get to know you. I think what you're doing is fantastic.
Good. Good. Well, here you are, a Marin poet live, sharing her poetry with us, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, also, Neshama, for inviting me.
Okay.